Okay, well, listen, let's dive into things then, because we've got an awful lot we want to cover and we really want to keep these timely. So for those of you who missed January's end of month event, the purpose of these meetings is fairly straightforward and simple. This is a roadmap to entrepreneurship. So this is really where we're going to be focusing on and celebrating all things CFX as they relate to member success, as they relate to company success. We'll also take advantage from time to time and fire off updates for you if they happen to be well-timed and appropriate for this venue. And we're also going to talk about specifically entrepreneurship. So we're going to talk about the things that you have available to you and the things that you should be doing if you're looking to squeeze every penny out of the opportunity that's in front of you right now with CFX. And many of you, this is your first foray into entrepreneurship, and we understand that it can be very intimidating. And more than that, you can often second guess yourself and really hamper your ability to succeed. So really, this is meant to be an opportunity for us to take you by the hand and walk you through a process that many of us went through years ago and have played a very critical role in the success that we've been able to create in our own lives. So that's the primary purpose of this, just so you're all very, very clear. So we've got a very simple agenda that we're going to be focusing on as it relates to entrepreneurship. Last month, if you weren't here, we introduced Think and Grow Rich. Now, this is a book that probably doesn't really need an introduction. It was written decades ago. And I'm not going to quote the exact date, but it was pre-1950, 1948, I believe. And so it's sort of a how-to guide when it comes to entrepreneurship. And there were so many of you that were sending messages that said you ran out and you bought an audio version of this, or you bought a digital version of this, or you went to the bookstore and you bought a physical version of this. And many of you also said you dusted off your old cover version of it that you read 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago or more. And so we're going to actually have a segment of each of these end of month meetings as a group where we walk through that book over the course of a year and talk about a variety of things. So if you are not in that group of individuals that pulled out your copy or went and grabbed a copy, I couldn't find mine, and that's how long it's been. And so I went to Audible and I bought an audio version for $3.49. So there's lots of opportunity available for you. We're also going to talk about, and by the way, feel free to do that if you want to follow along with us through this end of month event throughout the calendar year. Mentor rank. We already introduced you to the mentor rank. We're going to discuss it in just a little more detail today, using systems for success as that relates to entrepreneurship and really maximizing the effectiveness of your CFX business. We're also going to have an interview, which we're going to do every single month, an opportunity for you to get to know various leaders that you may not normally be exposed to because perhaps of where they work in the world or where they live or where they build in the world versus where you live and build in the world. And then we're also going to have corporate updates. Okay, so let's dive into things. First of all, entrepreneurship. This concept of entrepreneurship can be extremely intimidating. The one thing that I want you all to focus on is that the definition of being an entrepreneur is fairly simple and straightforward. The act of being an entrepreneur is anything but simple and certainly anything but straightforward. So one who organizes, manages, and assumes the risk of a business or an enterprise. And make no mistake, what you are involved in right now is a business or an enterprise. And in fact, one of the biggest errors that many people, when they look back on their home-based business or network marketing or MLM career, they often say that I wish I took my early projects more seriously. I wish I acted more like a business owner than merely a participant. And that's really where we're going to be focusing during these end of month events to make sure that you learn things when they're most valuable for you as well, so that you're not looking back 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, wishing you take a more serious approach. That's going to ring again too. It's just, it's a solicitation, an automatic solicitation happens every day. So to make sure that you don't look back a year from now and wish that you had taken the opportunity in front of you a little bit more seriously when it was most appropriate for you. So we're going to make sure that we take you by the hand and really help you squeeze every day. Usually do. Okay, so we're going to talk about this book. Now, keep in mind, in the very beginning, the chapters are very short and they're just introduced. By the way, my Skype is set to do not disturb, so I'm not sure how their robot is managing to call when I'm set to do not disturb, but we'll probably edit that out of a recording. And any profanity that Richard shares with you during his interview later on, we'll probably edit that out as well. So that's why you see, I know he was trying to unmute himself to defend himself there. So that you'll see chapters 1 to 17. Now, normally we're not going to cover that many chapters from month to month to month, although you do have a month to go through the chapters, and the chapters are quite short. All right, so what we're going to do is just take about a minute or 2 minutes right now and discuss. It was essentially chapter 8 to 17, which is really where you're starting to get introduced to the concept and some of the players in the book. And as we move forward from this point on, you'll also get introduced to why and how the origins of the book became written. It's really quite a fascinating story. So if you're still a little bit on the fence, if you haven't read this yet, I would encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity where we're all going to be doing this as a group and really dig in and become familiar with what many people think is the most important book, the most important landmark book ever written in the realm of entrepreneurship. So first of all, in these chapters, we talked about 3 feet of gold. For those of you who have been reading along, of course, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This was very simply, it was a story of an individual, very well-educated individual that had an opportunity to purchase some property that was gold laden. And there was a shift in a vein that they were onto, and they were pulling significant amounts of gold from this vein. And there was a shift from a geological event that happened. And rather than consulting an expert, they just thought that they had missed an opportunity or had lost the vein, could never find it again, or quite frankly, the gold vein had run out. And so they took their hits and they walked away with very significant losses. And someone purchased the rights to that property for virtually nothing. Consulted an expert was the very first thing that they did. So their capital investment in this particular mine was very, very little. The individual that they had hired had simply let them know that there was a geologic event that happened and the vein had shifted 3 feet, and told them exactly where to dig, and that they were right onto that gold laden vein again. And they went in to pull millions and millions and millions of dollars of gold out of that particular very minimal investment. Also, what was discussed around chapter 8 and 9 was the fact that we are drawn to dominant thoughts. Now, you're going to hear many people that you have a high level of respect for talk about these types of things. Anthony Robbins, in most of his early books, talk about these things. If we want to sort of date ourselves a little bit, when we get into Jim Rohn and you get into Brian Tracy and you get into other very serious mentors that paved the way for a lot of the new business-oriented mentors today, they talk about how we're drawn towards dominant thoughts. The really switched on, the really good teachers that mentor, they really break things down into some of the most simple concepts. And one of those is that you could only focus on one thing effectively at a time, only. And so if you control what you're focusing on, and if what you're focusing on is going to lead you to where you want to go, it's a very powerful and very effective way to make sure that you're always on the right track, even if you're only doing that an hour a day, even if you're only meditating that 15 minutes a day. So the opportunity to manage yourself, probably the biggest, probably the most significant catalyst or cause of failure is one's inability to manage themselves. Their inability to manage their thoughts, their inability to manage their times. And this doesn't have to be a 24-hour day, minute by minute practice. It doesn't have to be something that you are incapable of doing. It really is about forming habits. And consistency is the dominant, effective characteristic of those habits. So simple, daily, consistent, doesn't have to be long. And then a burning desire. So we also learned about Barnes and his partnership with Thomas Edison, how Edison had already been making significant discoveries with significant patents and major breakthroughs, and was a real name at this particular time. Barnes was obscure. He was simply absolutely passionate and fascinated with Thomas Edison's career. And he determined that he was going to make Thomas Edison a business partner in some way, which, as ridiculous as it sounds, you can learn about exactly how he went about to do that. But what preceded everything else was a burning desire. It was a very singularly focused desire. It was all that he thought about. In other words, if we refer to the bullet point above, it was a dominant thought that he thought of all of the time. And so when we talk about in CFX, when we talk about the importance of being financially solvent, making sure that you're not accruing debt, and certainly not handcuffing your abilities to act, this would be a perfect example of that. If this particular individual was beholden to significant debt, perhaps they wouldn't have the opportunity to go and pursue a partner with Thomas Edison. And of course, he went on to make millions and millions of dollars from that partnership as well. And you can learn about that. It was about around chapter 15 or 16. So one of the things that your participation in CFX is going to expose and really help nurture in you is the financial principles that we talk about over and over again. Learning those financial principles, incorporating them into your life, really living them so that you free yourself financially. Remember, freeing yourself from debt has to precede any kind of abundance or aspirations or dreams or goals of wealth. You need to free yourself financially first. And that's the roadmap that you should be focused on being on with your participation in CFX. That's absolutely step number one. Learning these things, doing these things, and then allowing these things to work for you to create success that perhaps you may not even have thought possible before. Okay, short video. We're going to play this. You've all seen it before. There's a reason we're going to play it. This year, we are seeing the dream of financial freedom being pushed further and further away from millions of people. Record business closures and massive global layoffs are pushing people's budgets to the breaking point and having a dramatic effect on their quality of life. Many people are being forced to survive on credit, paying today's bills with tomorrow's wages. This is a guaranteed path to financial disaster. Are you currently enjoying the lifestyle that you're working so hard to achieve? In contrast to these statistics, the wealthiest of our populations increase their net worth year after year, and they're able to accelerate their wealth during economic downturns. How is this possible? Financially experienced people put wealth-building principles to work for them, rather than trading their time for a wage. In the following video, we'll introduce you to two of these powerful principles and show you how you can get them working for you right away. At CFX, we believe the opportunity to create financial abundance is the right of every person. A better life can begin now. Start your journey with us today. It will be the most empowering change you've ever made. At CFX, we believe it is the right of every person to create financial abundance in their life. Just consider for a moment the magnitude of that statement, especially in contrast to what's happening in the world around you. Regardless of the country that you live in right now, you're going through various stages of lockdown and then re-lockdown and re-lockdown again. And consider, and I know all of you probably have and do, the small business owners, which are the lifeblood of any economy, and the beating that small business owners are taking right now. I want you to also consider just for a moment that a very significant number of small business owners borrow money to keep their small businesses afloat. So we're in very challenging times. Bureaucrats are doing what they think is best. They're trying to protect the citizens of various countries, but they're doing it with a single-minded focus on making sure that viruses don't spread. It's not part of their mandate to make sure that small businesses survive. And so we're only just starting to see the tip of the iceberg when it comes to damage, economical damage that's being done from actions around the world. Now, I'm not making this political, and that's not the purpose of this at all. The purpose very simply is to explain that entrepreneurship is critically important for all of you in playing a role to help assist you not only remove debt from your lives, but then to use the financial principles that we will constantly be talking about during the course of this coming year to start to grow and start to create abundance. In that video, it also said that the wealthiest of our societies, the wealthiest of various countries' population, actually increase their net worth during troubling times. And that may seem a little alien to you, but consider what happens during troubling times. All markets hit the bottom. All markets crash. Well, what can a liquid person do? Liquid meaning having access to large sums of money. What can they do when markets crash? Well, they can buy. And they can buy blue chip stocks, and they can buy a variety of other assets and resources and precious metals, knowing 100% for sure that the first thing is that going to happen when economies start to right themselves again is those things will climb in value at an accelerated pace to get back to where they're supposed to be. And so there's tremendous opportunity that comes from being financially secure. And so we want to make sure that all of you are on that road. You're on that journey to put yourselves in those positions as well. Because the one thing that will always continue to happen, and it never seems like it in the heat of the moment, is that markets will continue to climb. And then every 9 to 10 years, they'll take a fall again. And it really doesn't matter whether it's the dot-com bubble. It doesn't matter if it's the global housing crisis. It doesn't matter if it's COVID. It doesn't matter what it is. The bottom line is always the same. Markets crash and wealthy people have an opportunity to make more wealth. Very simple. Okay. All right. So mentor program. Now, we've talked about this before. We introduced you to this concept before. I wanted to share this time. This is the same screenshot that you saw last month with one addition. Eunice has been added, so you can see exactly what the mentor badge looks like. So for those of you who are executives, for example, you will never have the opportunity to have that beautiful burnt orange badge around your photograph because, of course, you've climbed to executive. However, I wanted to make sure that you all saw what that looked like because this is something that anyone who's an ace trader in your business should be striving to accomplish. How do you accomplish it? Very simple. You do exactly what Eunice did. You share CFX with a minimum of 3 people, and that creates an opportunity for you to automatically become a mentor. Why is this so critically important? It is critically important because this is going to be the building block for you to hit every single rank in the leadership program for CFX. This is the very first step. Add a new person to your business and make sure when that new person joins your business that you're on a Zoom with them or you're on a telephone call with them. You're walking them through the processes. You're helping them register and you're helping them fund their accounts. Make sure that the time you're investing in your CFX business, a large portion of that time should be with brand new people, helping them get started the right way, helping them to avoid the pitfalls that so many people fall into when they're learning blockchain and Bitcoin and sending Bitcoin for the very first time, and they're doing it blindly without any support, and they're making mistakes, or they're clicking the send all button, one of 100 things that people are doing wrong when they're getting involved. This can be so easily avoided if you're just on a Zoom with them, walking them through these very basic processes. Anytime that I've ever built anything in my life, the area that I felt was most valuable and most efficient was for me to invest extra time in people in the beginning. And you're going to learn why right now, because we're going to discuss as sort of the majority of this presentation where the biggest gains in network marketing come from. There's a real misconception. There's even a misconception amongst experienced people in network marketing, people that have made thousands, tens of thousands, and even hundreds of thousands of dollars in network marketing. A real misconception where money comes from in network marketing. There's an assumption that's being made is that you make money in network marketing from selling things. And while that's technically true, that's not the correct answer. So we're going to discuss a couple of concepts right now. First of all, linear income versus leveraged income. These may be obscure terms to you or terms you've never heard before. Linear is simply meaning a straight line. So for example, you develop a set of skills, and in your society, your economy, those set of skills are worth a certain amount of money per hour or per day or per week or per month. And you're trading your time for those units of pay, that money, versus a leveraged income. Now, leveraged income, and if you've watched the CFX Success from Home video on the accelerator page, the 4-minute video, we talk about the difference between leveraged and linear income. We also talk about the fact that you can leverage more than one thing. People with great sums of wealth leverage money. They leverage money all the time, and you hear about it all the time. People putting their capital to work for them and amassing fortune. In fact, we talked about it 5 minutes ago when market conditions drop dramatically. Those people that are liquid take advantage of markets that you can't take advantage of if you're not in the same position. So you can leverage money, but you can also leverage time. And so if you don't have significant money to leverage, it's most important you understand you can be just as productive. In fact, some may argue, I would be one of them, that you can be even more productive leveraging time. I would suggest to you that a very effective model that one can follow for building their CFX business only takes about 5 hours a week. And it's through that leveraging 5 hours a week of other people, leveraging other people's time, that you can amass a fortune for yourself. Now, I should share a disclaimer as I'm getting into these things that participation is in no way a guarantee of success. So that's an earning disclaimer when it comes to CFX. Getting involved, signing on the dotted line, and joining CFX with a trade package absolutely does not guarantee that you're going to kick butt in the rewards plan of CFX. However, I can tell you, if you implement the strategies that we'll be talking about in these end of month meetings and you really dig in and focus, the odds are very, very good that you're going to start meeting some of your goals as well. All right, so let's talk specifically. Now, when we said that many people misunderstand how real earnings happen in network marketing, there's an immediate assumption about selling things to people. And that's one of the biggest hangups. In fact, for those of you who are actively, and all of you on this call and all of you listening are probably those individuals who are actively sharing CFX with other people. I know that for certainty because you're taking the time out of your schedule to be here, to hone your skills, to improve your knowledge, and hopefully develop an ability to be more effective at sharing CFX with others. Now, many of you, in fact, maybe the large percentage of you, have a real aversion, a real uncomfortable feeling about selling things to people. And I don't blame you. I feel exactly the same way. When I first got involved in network marketing, it was with, many of you know, with a physical product company. And I was only 25 years old, and it was a health-based physical product company. And my demographic is what? Other male 25-year-olds. That's my tightest circle of influence. Well, how much do 25-year-old males care about supplemental health? The short answer is they don't. In fact, most of them couldn't care less. And so I had to very quickly understand that the road to success didn't have to come with a focus of selling things to people. And this is really where this concept of teaching things to people really started to blow up for me. And I went from struggling to all of a sudden starting to reach all of the goals that I was setting for myself. And in fact, surpassed all of the goals I set for myself. And that actually opened up an entirely different opportunity for me to learn. Within about 18 months of getting started, I was earning 5 times larger than the largest goal that I'd set for myself. And I hit a bit of a wall. I didn't know where to go from there. I was just a kid. I just put some concepts to work that made a lot of sense. And they not only made sense for me, but they made sense for other people as well. And my business just took off. And we're going to teach you some of those concepts as well. And how you use and implement them is also critically important. And I will tell you this, of all the different roadmaps to create success in the home-based business space, the one that we're going to be teaching you, if you looked at all of them, the one we're going to be teaching you is actually the simplest. So there is an assumption that significant results, significant success has to be painful, or it has to be difficult. And that is not necessarily the truth. And when it comes to success in network marketing, when we're focusing on leveraging other people's time, it is definitely not true. This does not have to be painful. It does not have to be challenging. You're going to have to challenge yourself, and you're going to have to push through some mental issues that pop up from time to time. And you're going to have a definiteness of purpose, just like we talked about in our chapters in Think and Grow Rich. You're going to have a burning desire. All of those things have to be in place. But if you focus on the end goal and how badly you want that, not only for your own benefit, for the people that matter to you as well, I think that's going to be probably enough to push you through any sort of hurdles or challenges that you face along the way. So let's break this down, teaching versus selling. And I said to you just a couple of minutes ago that many successful people in network marketing get this confused. See, if you're selling something in the network marketing space, if I sell a box of supplements, for example, well, I've just created a linear income. I made a one-time sale and I earned one-time dollars. And then I go and I sell another box of supplements and I made a one-time sale and I make one-time dollars. And so if you're looking to leverage yourself, that use one of those financial principles to really blow the income off really blow the ceiling off your income, it's not going to happen from selling things to people. That's a linear income source, even though you're building in a network marketing environment. This is very important to understand. If you shift your focus to teaching a simple system to people rather than focusing on selling things to people, people are going to be far more open to the message that you have for them. And you are going to start to notice an increase in your ability to earn like perhaps you've never seen before. Just consider, if you don't believe me, consider if you've ever been involved in a product-based company in the past and that company happened to post their top salespeople, the number of people that have the most preferred customers or have the largest volume in sales. And notice for a second that no one on that customer list is ever at the top of the pay plan, because they're building a linear income source in a leveraged environment. Okay. You're not exploiting all the opportunity the reward plan has because your focus is on selling units of things to people over and over and over again. I will tell you, without being disrespectful to network marketing, that's no different than getting a second job at Starbucks. It's no different. Linear income is linear income. You're trading time for money, period. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that, don't mistake, if you're setting lofty goals for yourself and you want to make some significant amounts, it's not going to happen working part-time at Starbucks. I love Starbucks. I'm not knocking Starbucks. Okay. So there's a little formula I want you to have a look at here. S plus D equals R. So what does this represent? Well, S represents system. And you hear us talk about system over and over and over again. D represents duplication. Okay. So system, consider for a moment learning. If you recall that 4-minute video on cfxsuccessfromhome.com, you go to the accelerator page, the 4-minute video on the second page. It says, do first, then teach. System, you learn a simple system so that you can teach a simple system. Teaching a system is where duplication comes from. That's others doing as you're doing. You're duplicating yourself in someone else. So if you're spending 5 hours a week in your CFX business and they start spending 5 hours a week in their CFX business, you're leveraging their time. You're earning bonuses through a variety of ways from their activity. Okay. This creates not result. This creates a residual result. This is what you're looking for. You're not looking for an income source. I never got involved in network marketing to create an income. I already had an income. I got involved in network marketing to create a residual income. I just celebrated my 25th. I'm approaching my 26th anniversary in the very first company I ever built. And I still generate a 5-figure income from that company. I'm getting paid every week and every month from work that I did 25 years ago. 25 years ago. That doesn't happen in a linear income. The moment I leave the coffee shop is the moment I stop getting paid. This is why you're doing what you're doing. This is the only reason you're doing what you're doing. So focus on teaching versus selling. It's going to take a lot of pressure off you, because I will tell you, most people don't have a stigma about learning things. But they do have a stigma about teaching things. Apologies. They do have a stigma about selling things. You talk to so many of your friends. And so I told you a moment ago, we're going to show you a roadmap that's actually easier, less stressful, 5 hours a week, to help facilitate you reaching your goals. Okay. All right. So why use systems? Very simple. Because the easier a plat or strategy is to teach, the more you can accelerate growth. In other words, the easier is something to teach, the more one would be attracted to it, the more one would be inclined to actually do it. The more one does it, the more your team grows. And this is why, so if some of you have reached out to me in the past, and I know this has happened probably hundreds of times, say, hey, John, listen, I got a really good friend of mine who has tons of upside potential, and he'd love to have you present to him. And so just to be clear, they're asking me to do a one-on-one presentation with their friend. Do you know what my answer is? Every single time? No, sorry, I can't do it. Send your friend a CFX Success from home, have them go through videos 1 and 2, and then I'm happy to jump on a call with them. I'm not doing that to be a jerk. I'm not doing that to be lazy. I'm doing that to honor the system that was built, because if they choose to get involved, you're teaching them right from your very first actions to do the most effective things for themselves, and also the most effective things to create accelerated growth for you. You always have to honor the system. You always have to be loyal to the system. You always do only the system. Why? Because people are watching what you're doing. They're watching what you're doing a lot more than they're listening to what you're saying. Be consistent, keep things simple. Your business will actually grow faster. Okay, so with that, I'm very excited to have an opportunity to introduce you to our most recent ambassador. Obviously, a very significant achievement. Oscar, please feel free. I think that this would be appropriate for you to introduce someone who's obviously become a very close friend of yours, and you've had the opportunity to watch this gentleman climb through the ranks since he first got involved in CFX. Richard, what, 19 months ago?
Yep, that's about right.
About 19 months ago. So yeah, this is an overwhelming accomplishment. Whenever you have the opportunity, Oscar, please unmute yourself. I will make sure that you're still a co-host and you have control. And so Richard, first of all, congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Great. It's quite an achievement, dude. I know that there's probably the chat is filling up with people that are celebrating your success. I know it's happening all around the world. First, let me ask you, 19 months ago, what did you think when you're first introduced to the concept? What do you think would happen?
Well, I always have, when I come into a concept, I have a strong vision of where I want to be. I remember thinking, looking at president even, that was a long way off. But that was my goals, to get there as quickly as I could. And I started also breaking the journey down into small steps, introducing people ones and twos. It's funny because you look back and you think, my goodness, that's how I started. It was literally just ones and twos.
That's it. So yeah. Everyone starts.
Yeah, exactly. And just, but it was constant activity. It was, massive action from day one. When I came into it, I think Wasker's gone to the beach. Actually, I think that's what's happened.
I think he's on the beach.
Yes, I think he is. Yeah.
I'll make double check. There could be a message saying that he can't unmute, so I will do that.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Look at all those congratulations pouring in, dude. Yeah. So a lot of people, Richard, a lot of people lose sight of the fact that that building a business like this and earning the type of income one can is still a business, and it still takes work.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of them. I think it is the biggest thing that holds people back, is they don't treat it like a real business. It is a multi-million-pound business, if you treat it like that. If you talk to any of the leaders in the business, people that are doing well, they are treating it like a real business. They're focusing. If you are building a traditional business, you wouldn't just turn up and spend 5 minutes a week on it. You'd be on it all the time. And that's the thing, you can do that with a traditional business. That's great. Or you can focus on this. And this is why I love this concept, because it is, for me, so much more efficient. If you look at my business, I started off with just $300. I didn't put any more money into it. And in 18, 19 months, I have a business now turning over around $36 million a month. Sorry, around $36 million a month. It's phenomenal.
If you compare that also to a traditional business, the type of volume that's required. It's really quite an accomplishment. It's incredible. And the other thing that's really important and worth noting, you imagine someone, for example, who put their CV or their resume out all over the place, and they had one dream employer that they hoped and wished, and they managed to get that job. And they go to that job, and that employer says, "Okay, I need you to go do this thing for me." If they don't know how to do that thing, and that's their dream job, you better believe they're going to learn how to do that thing almost instantly. And they're going to consult whatever resource they need to consult to make sure not only do they learn how to do that thing, but they do that thing well. And we've got an opportunity here to create an income source that could well and truly change the course of your life. And so I would encourage people to approach that with exactly the same enthusiasm.
Yeah. And don't worry if it's not perfect. That's the thing. When you first start, it is not perfect. It's the activity. I think Jim Rohn has got a great saying: you make up in numbers what you lack in skill. And that's absolutely the case. It's that constant activity that makes the difference.
In fact, I think you should even revel in your mistakes.
Yeah.
Find joy in your mistakes, because if you're dedicated, if you're saying to yourself, "I'm going to do whatever it takes to ultimately hit the rank of president," that may take a year, it may take 2 years, it may take you 5 years. Enjoy the mistakes, because every single time you learn a way not to be effective, you've scratched that off the list. And eventually you're going to dial in what works for you. And you're going to be very, very effective at not only sharing this, but also teaching others to do the same, which is really where the big money comes from.
Yeah. And I think that's such an important point. You're going to see people building this business very quickly, but it's okay to build it slowly as well, because, it's all about getting to the top of the mountain. And whether you do that in 6 months or whether you do that in 3 years, you're still at the top of the mountain. And in this business, that means you're going to get paid again and again and again for that one-time effort.
It really is incredible. I remember as a young man, when the penny dropped for me, and I was able to really understand the difference between linear and leveraged residual income versus linear income. How can you go back to earning a linear income unless, just like we say in that 4-minute video on CFX Success from Home, if you're passionate about what you do, then that trumps everything. Okay. If you're not doing your passion and you have the choice between earning a residual income and a linear income, for goodness sake, pick a linear income. And if you only have a few minutes a day, just that can accumulate 4 or 5 hours a week, every single person needs to be working towards having a residual income. Okay, so share some pearls with us, things you've learned along the way, and maybe some aspirations for yourself for the future. Well,
I think one of the first things, which is really important, I think you've already hit on it, is the fact that you have to have a strong why. One of the key benefits of this business is the fact that we don't have all the negatives that you have with a traditional business. We don't have overheads, employees, the list goes on. A lot of pressure is taken off you. So in a traditional business, you'll be looking at, going into it because you want to make money, but also you've got all the challenges. So when you're building a traditional business, you have both the stick and the carrot. So the carrot is you want to build the business to make money, but the stick is that if you don't work hard, you're going to lose your business. Now, we don't have that in network marketing, so you have to be self-motivated. So it's very easy just to get to the end of the week and have not done anything or made just a couple of phone calls and to think that that's building the business. So imagine if that was a traditional business, how well would your business be doing if you'd only made a couple of phone calls? So that's one of the key things. Have a strong why, because that will give you the motivation to get out of bed in the morning. So think about why you're doing this business. I think one of the things that I think is really should be really important in people's minds is the fact that so many people don't have pensions, they have no retirement plan, and people should really start thinking, well, okay, what am I going to do about that? Whatever I need to do, you've got to think about, I have to have something, because otherwise you're going to retire without any income, which is not a great place to be. So that for me would be a strong why, for example. But there are many other reasons why people can build a business. So that's the foundation once you've got that. I've already hinted, obviously, treat the business like a real business. So, put time aside, even if you're working the business, just a few hours a week, and make sure that you're setting that time aside and you're doing productive activities. And that will change over time. Initially, your initial process is referring people and introducing as many people as you can. And by the way, something I really stress to people: this is not a business of trying to convince people. It really isn't. We are professional inviters. We're inviting people to come along and look at an opportunity. It's up to them whether they decide to join or not. I often hear people talk about, managing objections and this, that, and the other. Again, it's not that. You're just answering questions. And if you can't answer the questions, that's where your upline comes in. And the thing I love about CFX is that it is a great leveler. I've got people in the business that have never done anything like this before. I've got grandmothers. Someone was telling me the other day that she worked in a care home. She's a care assistant, worked in a McDonald's to make ends meet. She's now a director in this business on a 100K pack. There's someone I can show you who takes this business seriously and is putting in that consistent effort. They may not have had the skills or anything initially, but again, they probably made up in numbers what they lack in skill initially. So these are sort of some of the key things. People often say to me, what makes a successful person in CFX? Well, if you look at all the leaders in CFX, they tend to be extremely, different people, different countries, different cultures, different age groups, whatever. But what makes them successful is that one thing I think is also really important, they've done their due diligence on the project. So they understand that CFX is the real deal. It's a business that's going to be around long term. So in other words, worth the effort putting into it. They're people that have a strong why, and they're people that have gone to work and they're working really hard on their business. I look back at my corporate career. I used to work long hours. I was a sales director in the City of London, and I hated it because it was a linear income. I didn't understand that at the time, but I always remember thinking every January, oh my goodness, I've got to start all over again. So when I saw a way of creating a leveraged passive income through creating distribution, that's what we're talking about here, I absolutely jumped at it with both feet. So the work you put in here can be, I work a lot harder in this business than I did in the corporate world, but it's worth it. And I'm so motivated to do that because you don't have to work like that forever. You work hard for a period of time. There's a great saying, you work for 90 days, a 90-day blast, and you'll be amazed at where you can be from there. So as I said, have a strong why, understand what you've got with this business, and go to work. And it doesn't matter if you're any good at it or not. It's that activity and working with your upline, and you'll find that you'll get better and better and better as you go along. So that's really it, John.
That's great, Richard. I'm going to ask you just a couple more questions if you don't mind, but I agree with you. I think a 90-day blast, that's a really good, effective short-term goal. Now you can see the finish line in 90 days. I can get myself motivated to really hit something very hard that would normally be maybe a workload that I would be uncomfortable with. I can do that for 90 days. I think anybody could, even if it's a really focused 5 hours a week, you can be incredibly productive in 5 hours a week. 10 hours a week, that's all the better. Now, let me know if you've seen this in your business. Having a why is certainly critically important. Setting goals for yourself that really inspire you is critically important. But it seems to me that there is a real self-confidence epidemic that is troubling people these days, regardless of where one lives. And if a person doesn't believe that they deserve to have, it doesn't matter what goal they set for themselves. It just doesn't matter, because at their core, they don't believe they deserve. And I'm wondering if you're seeing any of that yourself. And then I want to talk about that just for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, it's such a shame because I want to shake people, when I see that, because Henry Ford had a great saying: if you think you can, you think you can't, you're probably right. And as I keep reiterating to people, this business is a great lever. It doesn't matter who you are, what your background is. You can overcome that by putting in a work ethic. Now, we had a great call last week with Jojar, who's a billionaire who's just joined the business. And, his background, and I love using him as an example, he came from such a poor background. A Christmas present, he got a Satsuma. That was his Christmas present. And he's come from there to a multi-billionaire.
Sorry, just for those who don't understand what that is, what is that?
What?
A Satsuma.
Oh, right. Yes. Sorry. It's a little orange type fruit.
Got it.
So that's it. So, so incredible, how he's done that. But again, it just goes to show, he had no advantages at all. And yet he still made it happen. And so having that mindset is so important. And if you don't have that mindset, okay, and it's okay if you don't, start training. Develop it, exactly.
His passion,
books,
for assisting others is what's really inspiring.
Yeah.
And it's important that everyone listening now, whether it's on YouTube or in the Zoom room here, every single person know, if you can hear this, if you can hear us speaking, you need to know that you deserve. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your exposure or your experiences up until this point have been. If you're breathing and you're listening, you deserve to have whatever you want. And there are forces that would love to have you believe that that's not true, to have you just continue to pay your way and contribute for those that do already have. But there's nothing that anyone with great abundance that we would look up to, they don't deserve success any more than you deserve success.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, dude. Thanks for taking the time.
My pleasure. Great to be here.
We've just got a couple more things we need to blast through. Where are we on time? It's 50, so we're going to finish on time. Why don't you keep unmuted and let's go through these last couple of slides together, okay? Because Waskar has had obviously a technical challenge and he wasn't able to be with us. I double checked and he still is co-host. I'm going to triple check, in fact, just to make sure. Yeah, he's had a technical challenge. So, but there's room in here to join, so he'll be able to jump back in if he's able. All right, so corporate news and updates. Really what we wanted to focus on here was just giving you a few updates as they relate to executives, managers, directors. Look at this now in the President's Club. More and more, and a new ambassador. So congratulations to that brand new ambassador. This is a great spot to repeat that if any of you have aspirations to create the kind of abundance that we've been talking about using a very simple and straightforward model, I would encourage all of you to reach out to your upline. If you want to hit the reset button and get started in the way that we're talking about, please go ahead and do that. You're in control. You're in charge of your business. And of course, you know that all of our groups are transitioning to Telegram. There's more groups popping up all the time now, including the CFX group, which is the official channel. You can go join for Telegram for CFX, the CFX group. Make sure you get in there, and I'll be relating information in that group to these end of month meetings, etc. And we also wanted to remind all of you of these types of things because we're hearing stories of members of CFX that are downloading apps that don't exist. They're simply trying to scrape data. Sometimes phishing sites are popping up, like some you can see here. There are replication. Sometimes they just change a name and they're looking for you to enter a username and a password. They're scraping data. They're trying to any way they can. Now, if you are new and you haven't heard me say this before, remember the partners that Waskar and Edwin brought in to CFX are extremely skilled. And one of the things that they're extremely skilled in is building online environments and securing those online environments. CFX is wrapped in 4 separate firewalls. Your back office is protected with 4 separate firewalls, and the first of which has never been breached in the last 19 months. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't attempts, but this is a very, very secure environment, and large sums are spent to make sure it maintains that security, okay? But you can do yourself a huge favor and your team's a huge favor by making sure that they don't give away the keys to their kingdom accidentally through fraudulent emails, fraudulent apps, and fraudulent websites. That's the only way anyone's going to get into your account, is if you unfortunately choose to let them in. All right, so with that, I want to thank all of you very much for your time and attention. I hope that was some value. Let us know in the Telegram group if you pulled any particular pearls out of this by joining the new CFX Telegram group, because your feedback, of course, is going to help us hone how these end of month meetings continue to roll out. And also, if you decide that you're going to jump on the Think and Grow Rich bandwagon and help resurrect a book that's 5 decades or more old, please go ahead and let us know if you plan on getting a copy and start reading along with us during the course of the year. So again, thanks, Richard, for your participation. Thanks, Alvaro, for your hard work getting this on Telegram on YouTube as well. And we're very sorry that our fearless leader, Waskar, wasn't able to join us. But rest assured, March end of month meeting is probably going to come sooner than we would like. So thanks again. Have an excellent weekend. We'll talk soon.
Guys.